Hey everybody, John Felt here. This is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing, November 10th, 2024. Over the last week, we had some active weather. We started off the week with some really heavy rain. We ended the week with some really heavy snow. This week looks like it's going to be quieter, but there is some interesting weather to talk about. So let's get started. I wanted to start off by taking a look at some of the October statistics by county. This shows the average temperature ranking, and these areas here in the dark red, that is a record warmest October. So almost the entire nation, I don't see one county in blue, so almost the entire nation near or above normal temperatures. It was also very dry. Any of these areas in brown, only very much below normal rainfall, and areas in dark brown were record dry, so very dry conditions as well. Okay, so right now what we have is we have three systems here that we're sort of keeping an eye on. I'm keeping an eye on this system right here. This is a Pacific storm, and that's going to be affecting the Pacific Northwest. Right here in the central part of the U.S., there's a fast-moving weather system, and we have a tropical storm, Rafael, in the Gulf of Mexico to keep an eye on. So what we had last week here, we look at rainfall. This is the rain from last week, the very heavy rain, and that produced some flooding. Some of the tributaries just southwest of St. Louis, the Merrimack River, had major flooding. Other than that, pretty quiet over the U.S. Also some very heavy rain in the Carolinas and South Carolina into Georgia. And this was over 8 to 10 inches in that area, a very small area. So we had some extreme rain in pockets, and other areas remained quite dry. You might have also heard about the fire situation, the wildfire situation in parts of California and the Northeast U.S. So where it hasn't been very, very wet, it's been very dry, and that has resulted in fire activity. Now we look at snow, sort of going back and forth from late fall, early winter, back into middle fall, jumping around a bit. But there was some very heavy snow over parts of the Rockies here, especially between Denver and Colorado Springs. Several feet of snow shut down highways in spots. So the warmest, or the departure from normal temperature, I think what we're going to be seeing here is this dividing line west to east. West is going to generally be below normal. East is going to generally be above normal, and you saw that last week with the eastern U.S. anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees above normal. The warmest temperatures in parts of the eastern U.S., yellow was in the 70s, this orange here was in the 80s, and down in Texas in the 90s. Now we look at the coldest weather, blue and purple, that was 20s and 30s. Okay, so from a river standpoint, you can't really see it anymore, but this was some major flooding on the Merrimack. That's come down. We also have some flooding in spots, especially across the southeast U.S., and that's still tropical weather, and also some high flows in the Pacific Northwest due to this enhanced action of Pacific storms. But at least from the grain standpoint, coming down the Mississippi, things have really improved. Let's take a look at Memphis here. It was in brown, very low flows, and now we're back up to here with this pulse of water working down through the river. So we're in much better shape as far as our main stem, Mississippi. Okay, so what we have right now is we have this Pacific storm impacting the western U.S. We have this fast-moving storm over the central U.S., and then we have this ridge of high pressure. And by the end of the week, what we're going to have is this flow where we have a digging trough of low pressure in the west associated with unsettled weather and cooler weather, and this large area of ridge of high pressure over the central U.S., and that's going to be associated with quiet weather, dry weather, and mild weather. And if we take a look at the next 10 days, these two top graphics, lots of red, and that's above normal temperatures, and that dark red is 15 degrees above normal. But the western U.S., especially California, and sort of expanding a bit, is below normal. Now we get towards Thanksgiving, it looks like temperatures get a little bit more seasonal, closer to normal. Now I mentioned we had a tropical storm, Raphael, doing a loop-to-loop in the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to be a tropical depression, so it's weakening, and you can sort of see it sort of spins around here, and it just sort of sits out in the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the satellite picture. What's interesting here is look at these banded clouds right here, and what we have is we have some precipitable water being pulled northward, sort of tapping into some of that tropical moisture, and that's giving us a chance of some heavy rain over a very small area of the North Gulf Coast. And you can see that heavy rain right in here. Other than that, most of the nation looks pretty quiet this week. The highest amounts of rain and snow look to be in the Pacific Northwest with that Pacific storm, where we have heavy rain at low elevations, generally west of the Cascades, higher elevation snow. And you can see some of that snow here at higher elevations. And finally, let's look at week 2, 6 to 10 day in week 2. There's that dividing line with below normal temperatures in the west, above normal temperatures in the east, and generally a lot of green. So we are replenishing some soil moisture over parts of the nation. That's this week's weekly weather briefing. I hope it helped you in your planning. If you ever have any questions or comments, send me an email, john.bwoweather@gmail.com. Take care.